Picture this. A desert country the size of a small postage stamp decides, you know what? We're going to build the world's best airline. Not a decent airline. Not something that gets people from A to B without the wing falling off. But the best. It sounds like the opening line of a comedy sketch, right? Like, who wakes up in the middle of endless sand dunes and says, yeah, let's buy a few billion-dollar planes and serve caviar at 35,000 feet. But that's exactly what happened in Qatar. A country most people couldn't even spell correctly in the 90s ends up creating Qatar Airways, a carrier that now walks into airline award shows like LeBron James showing up to a pickup basketball game. Everyone else is sweating, and Qatar just goes, cool, where do we put all these trophies? Back in 1993, when Qatar Airways first got rolling, it was small. Think starter pack airline. Nothing crazy, a couple of planes, a few routes. Nobody in London or New York was thinking, I've got to book Qatar Airways. More like, wait, Qatar has an airline? Isn't that just sand, camels, and oil rigs? And for a while, it kind of was. But then, in 1997, enter Akbar al-Baker, the man, the myth, the CEO who decided mediocrity was not on the menu. And if you've ever seen this guy in interviews, he doesn't exactly scream laid-back boss. He's intense. He's the type who'd send your sandwich back 3 times until it's perfect. And that's exactly what he did with the airline. He treated Qatar Airways like his personal mission to outshine everyone else. Now, most airlines aim for survival. You know, don't crash, don't go bankrupt, maybe serve something that doesn't look like dog food. But Qatar, they aimed for luxury dominance. They looked around at Emirates, Etihad, Singapore Airlines, all the big boys, and said, hold our kekti, we're about to change the game. And oh boy, they did. Let's start with the Q-Suite, because honestly, this thing deserves its own Netflix series. When they rolled it out in 2017, other airlines collectively sighed and went, well crap, sliding doors in business class? Check mood lighting that makes you feel like you're in a spaceship designed by Elon Musk's personal interior decorator? Check beds in the sky that let you sprawl out like you're in your own bedroom? Check. And if you're traveling as a couple, you can literally turn 2 Q-Suites into a double bed. Imagine being that couple, holding hands while turbulence hits, just whispering, at least we're horizontal, darling. Meanwhile, the guy in row 32, back in economy, is fighting for elbow space with a stranger who smells like onions. It's not even a competition. And if you're traveling in a group, they let you merge 4 Q-Suites into a private pod. It's basically WeWork in the sky, except instead of kombucha on tap, you've got champagne and lobster tails. Can you imagine trying to have a serious meeting mid-flight? All right, team, let's talk Q3 revenue projections. Oh wait, the flight attendant is carving us some lamb. Carry on. It's absurd in the best way possible. But Qatar didn't stop there. Their lounges make you forget airports are supposed to be stressful. Most lounges are like, here's some stale crackers, a soda machine, and maybe a chair if you're lucky. The Al Morjan Lounge in Doha? It's like walking into a palace. Marble everywhere. Ceilings taller than some apartment buildings. An actual fine dining restaurant. Quiet rooms for naps, and even areas for families. Because apparently they thought of everything. People walk in, and their brains short-circuit. You're in an airport, but your surroundings scream luxury hotel. The only reminder you're still traveling is when the screen flashes, final call for boarding. And don't even get me started on Hamad International Airport itself. This isn't just an airport, it's a flex. They've got an indoor tropical garden, a massive art installation of a giant yellow teddy bear that looks like it's plotting to take over the world, and shopping that makes Fifth Avenue look like a garage sale. For transit passengers, it's like winning the layover lottery. People literally plan stopovers in Doha just to hang out in this airport. Meanwhile, the rest of us are crying in Newark, sitting on the floor next to an outlet that doesn't work. Now let's talk about their crew. Getting a job as a Qatar Airways flight attendant is harder than getting into Harvard. They accept less than 8% of applicants, which means if you've ever been served tea at 3 a.m. on a Qatar flight, you're basically dealing with the Navy SEALs of hospitality. These people are polished, professional, and somehow manage to look like they just stepped off a runway show, even after a 14-hour flight. It's almost unsettling. You're sitting there with a bedhead, crumbs on your shirt, and eyes like a raccoon, while they glide past you with perfect hair and smiles that look photoshopped. And behind the scenes, they've got secret bunk beds hidden above the cabin so they can rest. That's right, if you've ever wondered where the crew disappears to on those long hauls, they're literally climbing up a staircase into a hidden loft, like aviation ninjas. Imagine opening a random panel in the ceiling and finding a whole mini dorm up there, with flight attendants snoozing away before popping back down fresh as daisies. It's like discovering your airplane has a secret Airbnb upstairs that you'll never be allowed into. Of course, all of this translates into awards, and not just one or two. Qatar Airways has won Skytrax's World's Best Airline a record 9 times. 9. That's not just impressive, that's Michael Jordan-level domination. Other airlines probably just show up to the awards now for the free drinks. It's gotten to the point where the trophy engraver probably just pre-carves Qatar Airways and waits for confirmation. They've won Best Business Class, Best Airline in the Middle East, Best Lounge. Basically, if it's an award with the word best in it, they've taken it home. You start to wonder if the other airlines just exchange glances in the audience like, so, should we clap again, or just save time and ship it directly to Doha next year? And they don't just collect trophies, they flex them. Qatar Airways sponsors PSG, one of the biggest football clubs in the world. They slapped their name on the FIFA World Cup in 2022. Their logo is everywhere from stadiums to jerseys to billboards, plastered across screens where billions of eyeballs tune in. It's not just an airline anymore, it's a global brand, one that sneaks into living rooms through sports highlights and commercials, even if you've never set foot on one of their planes. You could argue they've done more for name recognition than the actual country itself. Some people probably know Qatar because of Qatar Airways before they know anything else about the country. In fact, for a lot of casual fans, Qatar just means that airline with the fancy seats and Messi on the jersey. Now, of course, it hasn't all been smooth skies. Politics in the Middle East meant Qatar Airways was banned from flying over neighboring countries for years. Imagine being told, hey, you can't use the roads to get to work. Figure it out. That's basically what happened. Flights had to take longer detours, burning more fuel and more time, like being forced to walk around the entire block just to get to the house next door. Any other airline would have been crushed, grounded by costs, or forced to slash service. But Qatar, they doubled down, expanded routes, and still kept winning awards like nothing had happened. In fact, they spun it into a bragging right. Look at us, still the best, even when we're flying around extra corners. That's like winning a marathon after running an extra mile just for fun, or playing a video game on hard mode and still beating everyone else who's struggling on easy. It turned into part of their legend, not just a good airline, but a resilient one that could dance around geopolitical roadblocks and still serve you caviar with a smile. And while other airlines cut back during tough times, no more meals, fewer staff, downgraded service, Qatar leaned into its brand. They were like, oh, you're cutting peanuts? Cool. We're adding truffle ravioli and Godiva chocolates. That's how you win hearts. You don't survive by lowering expectations. You thrive by blowing them out of the water. Instead of saying, sorry, cost-cutting measures, they basically said, here, have another pillow, another glass of champagne, and while we're at it, would you like your dessert plated like fine art? It was a bold move, but it paid off. People didn't just fly Qatar, they raved about Qatar. What makes Qatar's story even funnier is how much it messes with other passengers' expectations. Fly Qatar once, and suddenly you're ruined for life. You get used to doors in business class, caviar, and spa lounges where you can nap in silence before boarding. Then you hop on another airline, and they're tossing you pretzels like it's a personal favor. You're sitting there, staring at the tiny bag of salted disappointment, thinking, excuse me, where's my Arabic coffee and hot towel? Where's the chef-crafted meal served on real plates? Even in economy, the difference hits you. Other airlines hand you a mystery meat sandwich wrapped in plastic. Qatar gives you an actual meal that looks like it came from a restaurant menu. The standard gets so high that suddenly, every other airline feels outdated, like stepping out of a Tesla into a horse-drawn carriage. It's not that the others are terrible, it's just that Qatar spoiled you so badly, you can't go back. But at the heart of it all, Qatar Airways figured something out. People don't remember flights for being on time or having slightly wider seats. Sure, those things matter, but nobody gets misty-eyed reminiscing about a punctual landing. What sticks is how the journey made you feel. Did you feel cared for? Did you feel special? Did you feel like for just a few hours, you weren't trapped in a metal tube but transported into an experience? Qatar nailed that feeling like a science. They understood that flying isn't just about logistics, it's about psychology. When a flight attendant remembers your name, pours your drink in a glass instead of a plastic cup, and offers you a smile that looks genuine rather than forced, it shifts the entire way you experience being in the air. They basically resurrected the glamour of aviation, that golden age everyone romanticizes, when boarding a plane felt like an event, not a hassle. Except instead of smoky cabins, wobbly turbulence, and martinis sloshing around in shaky hands, Qatar swapped in champagne, privacy doors, and Wi-Fi strong enough to stream a movie mid-Atlantic. It's nostalgia, but upgraded for the 21st century. They managed to make air travel something people actually look forward to again, which is probably the biggest miracle of all. From a tiny desert carrier in the 90s to the world's most awarded airline, the journey is insane. It's proof that even in a world full of established giants, you can come out of nowhere, pour in ambition, and yes, a few $1 billion, and change the game completely. Qatar Airways didn't just put Qatar on the map, they turned it into a destination in itself. So the next time you see those ads boasting world's best airline and roll your eyes, just remember, in this case, they're not exaggerating. They actually are. A desert airline became the gold standard. And if you ever get the chance to fly with them, do it. Just be prepared, because afterward, every other airline will feel like you're riding a school bus with wings. And that's the story. From sand dunes to sky kings, Qatar Airways showed the world that ambition plus obsession equals domination. Now tell me, would you rather fly 14 hours in the Q-Suite with doors and champagne, or in row 43 fighting over armrests? Yeah, thought so. If you want more stories that peel back the curtain on how the biggest names got to the top, you know what to do. Stick around, because the next story might just blow your mind.